This is The Joe Gaither Show on BamaCentral.com.
Just curious if it was the same like USB-C or whatever. Good morning, Tuscaloosa, Internet World, West Alabama. How we feeling today? Goodness gracious, how we doing on a Thursday? It's the Joe Gaither Show on Bama Central, BamaCentral.com. Everybody's hanging out with us in the Derry Daniel State Farm Studios right off of McFarland Boulevard. So I appreciate all y'all doing that with us. Call Derek for your insurance needs, 205-758-3391. He'd be upstairs ready to talk to you today, give you an auto insurance quote, car and auto, home, life, boaters, renters. I know July's coming soon. Goodness gracious, praise the Lord. Praise the Lord. I don't have to move. I haven't had to move in quite some time, but if you are having to move across town to another apartment complex, make sure you call Derry Daniel for your insurance needs, your renter's insurance needs. You need renter's insurance wherever you're renting, even if you're not in Tuscaloosa, but especially if you're in Tuscaloosa, you need renter's insurance. So call Derry Daniel today at 205-758-3391. Probably one of the easiest avenues to get into insurance is having renter's insurance, and you do need your stuff protected. So we appreciate Derek for having us in the studio today. We appreciate you guys hanging out with us on the YouTube machine, on Bama Central's Facebook page. You can find us on Apple Podcasts, Amazon, Spotify. We appreciate everybody who downloads, rate, review, subscribe, all that good stuff to the show. What are we going to do today? Well, the voice feels a little bit better today. Yesterday, I'm sorry, it was horrible. I listened to a couple of clips, and I was like, oh, my gosh, that was not good. What are we, 10, 20% better? We're not quite to 100 yet, but we're better. Yeah. We're better. We're a lot better. So we're moving forward. We want to talk about Alabama's football schedule that got really nailed down yesterday. We obviously knew the opponents and the order, that sort of thing. But now you have TV times and dates, or TV times and kickoff times, at least ballpark times for most of them. Some of them got set in stone yesterday, so we'll talk about that. I'll ask Mason what he heard from the little bit of Greg Byrne that he listened to with Ryan Fowler on the game. Greg Byrne hanging out with Ryan Fowler, talking about NIL, talking about the settlement, talking about this, that, and the other. And then we'll be joined by Katie Windham. We missed Katie last week. She was wedding prepping, of course, a busy time for her. I think there was a big wedding shower for her somewhere, so she was getting all that stuff done. She'll be joining us here in about 15 minutes or so. And we've got at least a wide receiver discussion with her. Yeah, we'll just get right into it. We'll have a lot of fun. With that, make sure you follow Mason Woods at MAWoods_ on the Twitter machine. Follow myself at Joe Gaither6, and you can leave us a comment at Bama Central. Comments, questions, queries. We love the complaints the most. Good morning, Mason. How we doing, sir?
I'm doing good this morning. Doing good. Ready to get in here. Ready to talk about some fun things today. I think we've got a lot of good topics to get into. I'm really excited about the wide receiver discussion that we're going to get into a little bit later. I think that's going to give us some good stuff, and ready to get into a good show.
All right. So yesterday, a little fun day watching the NCAA track and field. A lot of the events. Alabama had the Samuel Ghazi won his 400-meter heat, so he is qualified for the 400-meter final. He was the first. He was the top overall qualifier, so you might have an NCAA champion in Samuel Ghazi very, very soon. His teammates in the 4x400, I think Ogazi was the third leg. His teammates in the 4x400 finished second in their heat, which was an automatic qualifier for Friday's final. So the Alabama team has a 4x400 meter dash team in the final that will be on Friday as well. Let's see. Hunter said that he was right in the rest of the results. I didn't see any shot put. Yeah. Okay. All right. Thank you. Okay, he did it very similar to what I did. Okay, perfect. As far as today's events and yesterday's results, Christopher Crawford placed 12th in the shot put. Trevor Gunzell placed 14th in the shot put, and then you had Ezekiel Pittering finishing 18th in the 3,000 meter steeplechase semifinal. So he is not qualifying for the final, but still great season for him. But unfortunately, all three of Alabama's 10,000 meter competitors, none of them did very well in the national scene. Dismas Lakira finishing 11th. Victor Kiprop, I feel so broken for him, finished 22nd. And then Dennis Caputo did not finish. It's a 6.25 mile race. Mason, I'm not going to ask you. I know the answers are absurd. I ran my best like 5K, which is 3 miles in my adulthood life. I'm saying from 26 to now,
Sure.
so the last 10 years is probably 28 minutes. 3 miles. That's pretty good. I felt good about that. And that's over the course of the last 10 years. These men ran 6.25 miles yesterday in 29 minutes. The winner was 29:07.70.
That's not for me. I think if I remember right, I want to say in like 7th or 8th grade, I probably ran the fastest mile I ever have just because we had to for PE. It was like 8.5 minutes.
Presidential fitness test. I remember that.
Yeah, I remember. The first time they made us do it, and I think it was 6th grade, the first year of middle school. I did not do it. I just walked it, and eventually was forced to come inside, and then had to redo it later because they were like, "You have to actually run some of it." I was like, "Okay, well, nobody told me that." They just said go out there and complete the mile. So I completed the mile. It took me like 17 minutes or something the first time.
Rose,
I walked the whole thing.
29 minutes for 6.25 miles.
I mean, I said it yesterday on the show. I don't think I drove that much. I don't think I drove that far in my car yesterday.
Disgusting.
Like that sounds awful.
Utterly disgusting.
Very, very impressive. But not for me.
My goodness. So congratulations to all the guys. That was the only running event that was a one-off final. Everybody else is trying to qualify for Friday's finals. You got women's today. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 8 different female competitors for Alabama. We got a little sprinter, 2,000 meters. Precious. I'm not going to try to pronounce your last name because I'm going to get it wrong. Then you got Doris Limengole with the 3,000 meter steeplechase. She's looking to defend her title. And so you got a lot of that. You got another 10,000 meter competitor, long jump, shot put, and javelin for the competitors today for the ladies. All right, Mason, knock that little logistic out. You can watch all that on ESPN, ESPN Plus, all that sort of stuff if you are a nerd like me. Let's talk about the schedule. Let's talk football because that is, well, shoot. Thank you, Hunter. I see another topic that I want to get into, but we'll talk football first because Alabama gets its kickoff times really almost set in stone. Sure. You got Florida State, Monroe, and Wisconsin. Everybody already knew 2:30, 6:45, and 11. They announced the Georgia game. 6:30. I'm just going to read them all through, and then we'll start to react to them. Vanderbilt is a flex, 2:30 or 7. And I wonder, okay, he did move them into Central Times. Good. Vanderbilt is a flex, 2:30 or 7. Missouri is an 11 a.m. game up there in Missouri. That's going to be a little bit of a sleepy time for Alabama. Tennessee is a flex, 2:30 or 7. South Carolina also a flex, 2:30 or 7. LSU has been designated as a night game, so it will be somewhere in between 5 o'clock and 7 o'clock. Oklahoma is a flex, 2:30 or 7. Eastern Illinois, 1 o'clock on SEC Network Plus, so make sure you have that extra subscription package. And then Auburn is a flex, 2:30 or 7. Excited? Don't
Very
care?
much so.
How
I think, just with the amount of flex games, I think they're leaving open the door for what I predict to be a lot of really good matchups, hopefully taking place at night. Where, like you said, you already got the LSU game locked in as a night game. I am hopeful that this means that a lot more games this season will be played at night. We mentioned the Georgia game as well. I would like to see, South Carolina maybe become a night game or something. I say that. I don't know that I want that for the Crimson Tide, but for the fan aspect of just watching a night game at Williams-Brice, that'd be great. But I'm optimistic that many of these games hopefully will be played in the later afternoon and the evening.
Oh no! Okay, boom. A little Google helps me right here. I was sitting here saying, when was the last LSU night game? When was the last? It was the last time I was in Tuscaloosa. Remember, you knocked out Jaden Daniels and Dallas Turner crushed him, and it was going back and forth. I was sitting here, Man, I got a bad memory. I was sitting here going, was it Leonard Fournette? Well, because that was probably the last time I was in the stadium yelling like a madman.
Yeah, the last time that I was in there, I remember it well. It was a bad loss, 2019.
Yikes. That was a great game.
Oh, man, what a game.
That gum fumble. Two of the ball just jumping out of his hand. And then
it almost brings it back. Two almost got it back for us.
Almost got it back. Like, you have the very classic end of half mistake for, like, you ever play college football 25 and you're like, do I want to take these last 30 seconds and try to push it down the field? Oh, pick six, and now I'm in a deeper hole. It was like exactly that, and like learn that lesson, everybody. To in them boys, everybody. And obviously that offense was incredible. So like I probably would have pushed it myself as well. But then you have that big old mistake. Yeah, LSU night game.
Oh, it's gonna be great.
November. Are they going to be any good by then?
I think so.
So
I'm optimistic on this LSU. I mean, I'm not.
We're not doing know your enemy LSU,
Yeah.
but like, why are they good? Besides, Nussmeier is overrated.
A lot of what I've seen, I think they've got some good wide receivers, good running backs. I don't know much about the defense. I would imagine they will probably continue to be at least somewhat suspect.
Little Aaron Anderson still with him.
Yeah, there we go. Probably some good skill guys. Probably
Caden
not a
Durham.
great unit.
Caden Durham was a good running back last year. Yeah, they're gonna be. It's LSU.
I think LSU's a 9-10 win team this year.
Always disrespect Brian Kelly. I just haven't.
Oh, I will continue to disrespect Brian Kelly. Yeah,
you just have.
He's not. I don't think he's done anything to garner any more respect than he has. I think we respect him appropriately. He's going to get you 9, maybe 10 wins in a good year, but he's going to lose some games he has no business losing every year.
My family. No, I think he's a really quality coach. Three-time Division II champion, just like Kalen DeBoer, except NAI, right? Kalen DeBoer was like NAI, right? 3-time NCAA Division II champion. You got all these bowl games. The biggest thing for me was I'm leaving Notre Dame because we can't compete here, or because I can't win at the very top. And then Marcus Freeman says, "Oh, okay, let me show you that."
Mm-hmm.
Let me show you that.
Telling. To leave for more resources and then do worse with the more resources,
or about the same. I mean,
yeah, sure.
Because Notre Dame, they made it. They made a championship game. Well, they made a championship game. How many of these? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 5 bowl wins at Notre Dame. Citrus Bowl win. Lost the Fiesta Bowl. Lost the Cotton Bowl. Basically, every time he's in a big bowl game, lose. Lost the Rose Bowl to Alabama.
I think you're talking yourself out of Brian Kelly to being a very quality coach.
He is a quality coach, but like this is the reason why I have a hard time like putting him up there. And
it's kind of the James Franklin thing, It's
that's
just
fair.
Can't win the big game.
That's a good comparison. This sparked me on my ADD is already working today. So schedule Notre Dame. Does Notre Dame have a hard football schedule? Have you seen this? I think Notre Dame has a hard football schedule this year.
I know they got a pretty good team, or at least a lot of people seem to think they do. Right, and it's going to be put to the test at Miami, off hosting Texas A&M, Purdue, at Arkansas, Boise State at home, NC State, USC, off at Boston College, Navy at Pitt, Syracuse at Stanford. It's not super easy.
Right. I'm just seeing like basically
there's some pitfalls in there. I think
you're like lowest quality team is Navy, or is it Syracuse?
Yeah, I think it's not very like top heavy.
There's no Eastern Illinois on it.
But there's no Eastern Illinois on there. It's a lot of just kind of solid teams.
Dude, credit to you. You're not playing goodness gracious.
I can respect what Marcus Freeman is doing with Notre Dame. I have hated Notre Dame my entire life. I will continue to hate Notre Dame, but he has made me respect them just like a little bit more.
Yeah, you know me, the brand lover. I might have had a Notre Dame sweatshirt during the Brady Quinn days, and they went and played LSU, and I thought, it was that Sugar Bowl, 06, 7, 8, something like that, 04, 5, 6, and got their doors absolutely blown off.
Yeah, I think I was. Let's see, what year was it? What grade was? I think I was in the 5th grade, so that was 5th or 6th grade when Alabama beat LSU in that title game.
Yeah.
Or, I mean, Notre Dame in that title game. And it was I had a teacher that was a Notre Dame fan, and that was a lot of fun for a young Mason.
How about 41-14 in 2007? LSU smacks them, and I was like, don't know about this no more. Don't know about this affinity anymore.
Yeah.
But I did like Brady Quinn, good looking guy and just tall, strong quarterback. And I was juiced up when they beat. They should have beaten USC. The Bush push. Who is that boxer? The safety who was a boxer. Who was really, really good.
We're getting off the rails
Safety,
today.
boxer, Notre Dame, 2006.
I do think Marcus
Tom Zabikowski.
Sure.
No.
No recollection.
Dang. And his pal, wide receiver Jeff Samardzija, who ended up playing pitcher for the Cubs.
2006. That was right on the cusp of me starting to really pay attention to football.
Oh gosh, I'm old.
Yeah, that was I remember it. I mostly remember the Iron Bowl from that year. That was probably the big part of the season. And they lost. I think that was the 6th in a row. Yeah.
One for the thumb.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I remember it was that.
Cut your damn thumb off.
I think it was Brandon Cox, whoever the quarterback was at the time. I don't remember if it was Brandon Cox or if he had been the year prior. But the Auburn quarterback was holding up a 7, and it had only been 6. And I just remember as a kid being like, "What an idiot!" Trying to find anything to poke fun at my family members who were some Auburn fans.
My first Iron Bowl experience was 2008. So 06 would have been 5. 07 would have been 6.
Okay. So
and 2008 is Saban's second year, and it was 36 to nothing.
Yeah,
I'm in the student section, and it was insanity. It was insanity. I'm pretty sure Auburn was lining up for a field goal that got blocked to keep to play, and it was the game was already out of hand, but it was still like, absolute insanity.
Yeah, that 2007 season is the first one that I really remember being pretty locked in for, because obviously seeing all the hypes around, ooh, my dad, Nick Saban, who's this guy? Whatever. We're gonna win everything. It was a huge deal.
How do you feel about playing in Athens, 6:30?
Yeah.
Okay. I saw
Alabama owns Georgia.
See, I saw a lot of that stuff. Yesterday. It was how it's going to feel riding around Athens at night as everybody's just
Kirby. For whatever reason, Kirby cannot get out of his own head in these games.
Yeah, I think this might. I think this was going to be.
It might be. This might be the one. Maybe
I want to see Georgia's quarterback play. I want to see. Because you got to hook up with what's the twin, Zachariah Branch.
Yeah.
You got to hook up with Zachariah Branch on the outside.
Are we even sure who it is? Is it locked in Gunnar Stockton or is
it
Puglisi?
One of the two. I think it's Stockton has the lead, but yeah, I want to see the quarterback.
Ty Simpson situation. Lead with the short leash.
Yeah, but you got to hook up with Zachariah Branch and what is it? Branson Robinson playing running back. Like you got to have some sort of running back play.
Wide receiver, and this is just. Again, off the rails things today. I saw a clip of him yesterday, hurdling, jumping clean over 2 offensive linemen to dunk a basketball.
Oh, nice.
So, get that guy stock way up on that guy. I don't even remember his name now, but probably going to have a few impressive pieces on that offense.
How many plays are we designing where the skill position player jumps over the offensive line?
I mean, the possibilities are endless if he can do it.
I was going to say very few. Except for the goal line.
How many guys can do that?
True.
This could change football.
He's gonna be
it's just a bubble screen, and then you line 2 out wide, and you just throw a bubble screen to one, the other guy blocks, and then the guy
jumps over
just hurdles him. Yeah.
Right,
and then he ends a clear path to the end zone.
Jumps over everyone, and the linebacker smacks him in the head as he's coming down. I don't love Missouri at 11. That's the only one that's like take us back to the trap game conversation. You're going to be after so many weeks of Georgia, Vanderbilt. You get a bye week before Georgia, but Georgia, Vanderbilt, and it's like we got to keep going. And it's Georgia, Vanderbilt, Tennessee, South Carolina as our path. Well, we're up for Georgia, duh. We're up for Vanderbilt, and to a sledgehammer, duh. We're up for Tennessee next week, duh. And then at South Carolina, as soon as you hear the sandstorm, we're getting up. Missouri, sleepy. It's sleepy Columbia.
Sure.
Not very packed out stadium.
Probably not gonna be a ton of people there.
and you got Eli Drinkwitz going absolutely. This is our time. This is our chance. Eli is lining up his Vanderbilt opportunity from last year. He says, if they can do it, we can do it.
I don't believe that Eli Drinkwitz coaches the same brand of football that Clark Lee does.
No.
He might be thinking that. I am very, very, very low on this year's Missouri team. I think
the turnovers.
I think
horrific.
they are down there with Kentucky. Like if we're talking about just bad SEC teams this year. Now I might be overshooting it a bit, but I think that they are going to be so bad this year that even if Alabama comes out and almost lays an egg, they'll probably be okay.
Right, but
Sure, we said it about Vanderbilt, but then we saw Vanderbilt just plays differently. Missouri does not do what Vanderbilt does.
That's true. All right, so that's the only kickoff time that I don't love.
But I'm with you. It's a little bit scary.
Yes, that's into the trap game.
I'm hopeful that the Vanderbilt game that precedes it is a 2:30 kick because if you get back-to-back night games, the two probably emotional wins if it's a Georgia win, and then again a Vanderbilt just give me the nice midday, Vanderbilt, 3-4 touchdown win. Nobody really thinks twice about it. That's what you need.
All right, so we're going to put a pin in the schedule conversation. We'll come right back to it, though, with our friend Katie Windham. Katie Windham, lead writer for Bama Central, BamaCentral.com. You follow her at Katie Windham _ on the Twitter machine. She just recently put out a piece for a kind of off-season update for Alabama gymnastics. I know she is working all things. Oh my gosh, how busy are you, Katie, with every beat you're covering and a house to buy? Congratulations. That seems like it's almost in the rear view, except for the moving part, and a wedding ahead of you. Goodness gracious. How busy are you, Katie Windham? And thank you for your time this morning.
It's more like sometimes I have so much to do that I just end up doing nothing, because there's just I don't even know where to start. Also, I'm a little worried about my connection this morning because while I was waiting backstage, y'all kept freezing. So I'm probably going to freeze today. Everyone just be ready for that.
That's okay. We're also an audio platform. If you're on Apple Podcasts, Amazon, or Spotify, and you don't want to see our faces cutting in and out, you can just listen to us, and it'll work just fine. Katie, we opened the show with just scheduled conversation and randomness about different old teams and and memories that we had. I want to go right back into the schedule. I want to move into Alabama's ACC challenge opponent and what it says about Alabama basketball, but I also want to do just a minute with you about Alabama wide receivers. So that's kind of going to be what our path is today. Let's start with football and the schedule. Hunter was so fast yesterday. I got to give you a lot of credit. Hunter DeCiver was really fast. He got it, and about a minute or two later, he at least had a schedule article, and then he filled it back out with a lot of exposition. So well done, Hunter. Great job. You can read it at BamaCentral.com. What is the first thing that stood out to you, Katie Windham, about the TV times and networks?
I mean, I think it's not surprising that Georgia's going to be a night game. I think LSU, right, it's going to be a night game, so that's kind of fitting at least. Right before I got on, I heard y'all talking about Missouri 11. From a travel perspective and road game, I don't mind 11 a.m. games because then, especially Columbia is the last SEC town I've never been to. So, I've heard great things about Columbia, so I'm really looking forward to it. But for real, there are things I want to see and do there, or maybe go over to St. Louis. So it'll be nice that it's an 11 a.m. game, so we're not working all night. Home games, I don't like 11 as much for multiple reasons. I'm really a 2:30 Central kickoff time girly. I love the 2:30 because then you're not having to get up too early. I think a lot of people don't realize how late we're working after games. Sometimes I think they hear the post game press conferences, they're listening in their cars as they're leaving the stadium, or they see snippets on the news or Sports Center or whatever. But it's that's just the tip of the iceberg for post game for us. So a lot of times, especially if it's say a 7 p.m. kickoff, we might be at Bryant Denny till 2 a.m. So, which is no problem for me, but it's not ideal, certainly. So I'm a 2:30 girl. I'm kind of disappointed, which this came out before yesterday, that the Wisconsin game's at 11. That just seems kind of, and I know it was last year, but that's because it was on Fox because it was a Big Ten home game. So, Yeah, I kind of wish that wasn't the case for that game. There's not going to be a lot of Wisconsin fans that are coming, apparently, because they returned some of their ticket allotment. So, which is kind of surprising. I mean, I know they haven't been in a great spot lately, but I still feel like they're a pretty historic program, and just the opportunity to come play at Bryant-Denny. But maybe it's kind of fitting for that game.
They saw what happened last year, and they said that Alabama's not doing jump around in the fourth quarter, so there's nothing to stay for. There's nothing to party for.
One of our most popular YouTube videos of all time. Everyone go check it out.
Yeah, actually, I'm really honestly surprised that video never got flagged for any sort of copyright, but that was fun. I don't know. I'll take a little. I am pretty proud of that. I said, Katie, I'm going to go down to the student section. I know we're in the middle of work, but I'm going to go down there. And she, okay, yeah, great. And it worked out well. It worked out that nobody looked at me funny. I just found a little seat and just started filming. It was great. So everybody knew the schedule already, and everybody knew who and when it was going to be. But now you can make your plans a little bit better. Make sure you read about it on Bama Central and BamaCentral.com. Hunter DeCyber wrote a nice little piece for it, and we continue to put out all the news right there. I want to pivot into basketball before we go into this wide receiver discussion, because this is another just small topic here. Alabama gets its ACC opponent. Mason, did you get glossed over this yesterday? Alabama
saw it, but now I'm blanking on who it was.
That ESPN doesn't think Alabama's going to be any good, or ESPN thinks Clemson is going to be good.
Yes, that is right.
One of the worst, honestly, experiences in Coleman Coliseum for me in recent memory is the SEC ACC Challenge, where Clemson came to town and there was like 5 people in the building, and Clemson ended up winning an ugly game. Katie Windham, what do we think? We saw Kentucky draw North Carolina. I didn't see the rest of the matchups because I didn't really pay that close attention to it. Mason, there you go. But Alabama drawing Clemson, not Duke, not any other real traditional ACC power.
Sorry, I cut out for a second. Reached asking my reaction.
Yep.
Yeah, kind of yuck. Kind of the general consensus on Twitter yesterday. It's not the most exciting. It's especially since it's in Coleman and something fans could see. A great game, a great opponent. I saw the whole list, but I didn't look at it closely. I saw Florida and Duke are playing, which makes sense. Defending national champions. I think a lot of people had hoped Alabama and Duke would after the Elite Eight, but it makes sense. But Clemson, again, I know they had the Elite Eight matchup, but which, to be fair, I could be wrong on this and speaking out of turn, but I don't think because I don't keep up Clemson basketball recruiting. I don't think they're in the. I mean, 2 years ago was kind of a magical run for them. I believe their coach has been there for a while and has only made the second weekend like once or twice. So I don't know. It's just like. Even the football aspect of it has kind of died off. That was a pretty heated, football rivalry for a couple of years, just how often they were playing the postseason. So it's just not the most thrilling opponent coming to Coleman. And you're talking about that last matchup. Wasn't it at like a 9 p.m. tip or something? So hopefully at least we don't get that this time. But
I'm pretty sure
times yesterday too, or just the schedule?
No, just the schedule. If you weren't going to give us Duke and North Carolina because we're not on that tier, fine, I can accept that. Why can't you give us Miami? We got Jaleel Bethea. Just add some juice to that. I see the list here now, Mason. Miami got paired with Ole Miss.
Yeah.
Give me Miami. Give
Syracuse,
me
Louisville.
Yeah, Miami or Louisville would have been my next 2 picks. What are you thinking here, Mason?
I mean, there's a lot of teams I would have preferred to have. I just think everything that the two of you have said is completely accurate about this Clemson matchup. It's just not really anything about it that excites you. There's I don't usually do the big brand thing like you talk about, Joe, but it is certainly coming into play here. I would much rather see a more recognizable basketball brand playing the Crimson Tide in this SEC ACC matchup.
Could you have sent us Notre Dame?
Notre Dame would have been great.
Drives me crazy. All right. Well, okay. Let's just infer something real quick, Katie. What obviously not on par with North Carolina and Duke, and their matchups. Florida and Kentucky are probably your presumed favorites in the SEC next season. But the roster's almost finalized, or basically finalized. I know there's an empty scholarship, but I don't really think that Coach Oates is going to fill it. Katie, what do you think? How are you feeling? I think it's I don't think we've caught up with her since LeBaron Philon's return. What are you feeling about the outlook on Alabama's 2025-26 basketball season?
Yeah, I mean, I think LeBaron deciding to come back or whatever ended up happening with that, however he ended up back in Tuscaloosa, I think obviously changes the outlook a lot, because it's kind of, through the cycles of Oates' success at Alabama, it's kind of been a mix of returners or like young stars. We saw in 2023 when they were the number 1 overall seed, they reached that very high, marker that this program's never reached before, but then it didn't necessarily translate to postseason success because you saw they faced that San Diego State team that had a lot of veterans. And so then it was like, oh, we need more of an emphasis on veterans. Well, you had that last year, and then they made the Elite Eight, which is great. Any other year, Alabama fans would have been ecstatic about that, but it felt like a little bit of a disappointment because of the hype going into it. And so I feel like this team is kind of you don't have the top heavy end of all these veterans that you had last year. So yeah, I don't keep up with, I mean, obviously, like I've seen all the signees and I've heard people talk about them. I don't keep up with basketball off season as much and the, recruiting aspect of that. But I think coming into this season, yeah, it's not going to be the hype there's been some past years. It's not going to be this past year where some people were like, should they be preseason number 1? It's not going to be 2 years ago when you had Brandon Miller. And at that point, actually, nobody really knew anything about Noah Clowney, or not as much. But that team was super hyped, especially after the Spain or the Europe trip, and things kind of grew. David Diaz-Ferrero, was that his name? I couldn't think of it at first.
Yes.
So much of David Diaz-Ferrero started, that the hype train really started rumbling down the tracks for that team. So I think this team is not going to have that as much, which could be a good thing because there's been so much attention on this program after the Final Four coming into last season. And Nate talked about at times last year being kind of the hunted versus the hunter or having the target on your back. And so I think it'll be good for this year to be on the fringes a little bit. Florida winning the national championship. You have a defending national champion in the SEC. The SEC overall, sent the most people to the NCAA tournament ever. I think, I guess, to kind of be fair with the SEC ACC discussion, what was it? There are only like 3 ACC teams that made the tournament last year, or 4. There's not a lot of. It's kind of crazy how much it shifted. That like there's not as many options because like y'all say Miami and Louisville, but like they haven't. They're more historic brands, but haven't been as good lately. So,
Sure.
But yeah, Alabama just definitely kind of got the short end of the stick. But yeah, I mean, I think they're going to be preseason top 25. Obviously, there's going to be teams like Florida and Kentucky, kind of with what Kentucky was able to do in the portal. They're going to get a lot more of the attention. But I think it's going to be Nate's goal every year to be top 4 in the SEC, get that first round bye, do well in the SEC tournament, and then make a run in March.
Mason, when you go vote for preseason basketball, will you vote Alabama 5th? Every time the few times that the couple times that Nate's had a really successful season, they've been preseason ranked 5th. Can we lock that in?
We can do that, I think. I only just vote them all the way at the bottom. Just really give them the bulletin board material. 16th.
Well, you got to be a little.
The Bama team's finishing last.
Come on, you got to be a little. Who is last? South Carolina, LSU.
South Carolina.
Goodness gracious, no, come on. Alabama's going to be a little better than them. 14.
Bottom third of the league.
There we go. There's your bulletin board material for you, Coach. We'll manufacture everything that you need right there. All right, so we're having a lot of fun here on a Thursday. We want to remind everybody that we're live in the Derek Daniel State Farm Studios. Be sure to call Derek for all your insurance needs, 205-758-3391. Red and Victoria are upstairs, are waiting to take your phone call, get your home, life, and auto insurance quote. I'm sure, wink, wink, nod, nod, that Katie Windham's new home is already is insured by Derek Daniel State Farm. I know their home insurance process is pretty easy. You can bundle all your insurances together at 205-758-3391. Bundle and save. Call and see how much Derek can save you today. All right, we're going to get into football topic, and we're going to make this Bama Central's just a minute for the day. Katie Windham sending this into our little chat last night, just asking, will Alabama have a 1,000-yard receiver for the first time since 2021? So, without any more expose, Katie, will Alabama have a 1,000-yard receiver for the first time since 2021?
I think yes. I know that it's a deep wide receiver room are maybe a little bit top heavy with Ryan Williams and Jeremy Bernard, and Isaiah Horton got a lot of hype throughout the spring. Some of the freshmen do. I would slightly hold the hype train on freshmen because we've seen in the spring guys do really well as freshman wide receivers and then not do anything. But also, obviously, of course, we've seen freshman wide receivers do incredible things. I'm not predicting a freshman gets to 1,000 yards, but between Ryan Williams, Isaiah Horton, and Jeremy Bernard, I think at least one, if honestly not two of them could. I mean, you look back to that 2021 season, and it was Jamison Williams and John Mechie that had 1,000 receiving yards, which obviously Bryce Young was the quarterback, and Bryce Young's not going to be the quarterback this year, but it's crazy how Alabama was on that long run of such great wide receivers, guys, consistent first-round receiver picks, that it's been this many years since there's been a 1,000-yard guy. But I think that ends this year just with, I think you're going to have a more pass-heavy offense with Jalen Milroe not there, just because he took up so much of the offense with his legs, which worked for Alabama at times and didn't at others. And so, yeah, I think that Alabama will have a 1,000-yard receiver this year.
I am in complete agreement. I'm going to say that you have 2,000-yard receivers this year, and I think it would probably be Jeremy Bernard and Ryan Williams. I think some people might want to throw Isaiah Horton as one of those guys in there. I think he is going to be very, very close, probably right around that 800-yard range. I am extremely confident about these wide receivers. I think as long as you have a quarterback that can just get them the ball semi-competently, they can make a lot of things happen.
The Washington Huskies in 2023 passed for 5,000 yards, 5,155 yards. Obviously, Rome Odunze 1640, Jalen Polk 1159, and Jalen McMillan 559. I think McMillan gets hurt in that. Yeah, he only played 11 games. I'm sorry, I'm saying 3. Yes, hot take,
Boom.
but I will say 3. No, you're not going to have anybody leading with 1640, but take 400 yards away, take 500 yards away from that leader and throw it on that third guy, and you've got 3 wide receivers that can clear the. And is that crazy to say? Yes, it is crazy. I know that that is out on a limb, but
It's the time for these
right. Feel free to take the saw to my limb at the end of the year, but I am going to stand out on the limb and say Alabama will have 3 1,000-yard receivers in 2025.
Boom.
I like it.
All right, Katie. I think that that'll suffice for a little video clip, but we can dive into this a little bit further. The issue that I see here is not in the wide receiver room and not in the running back room, the offensive line room. It's how will Ryan Grubb, one, distribute run to pass? And obviously Ty Simpson is not Michael Penix, but could he be anywhere in a stratosphere that he is distributing the football and making Alabama's passing offense hum?
Yeah, I mean, I think so. Like, I know, and like I said, the offseason is the time for this discourse, and I know we've been having it since the spring about, is Ty Simpson actually good or not? Should he be the quarterback or not? Is he really that good if he couldn't beat out Jalen Milroe? And I've kind of already shared my takes on that. Like, that, I don't think the coaches would still want him here if he wasn't good. I think that was a unique situation with Jalen Milroe. And I think if Ty doesn't work out, you have other options behind him that they're pretty confident and are happy with that can run the offense. So if you look historically at what Kalen DeBoer, especially with Ryan Grubb, have done together, it's a more pass-heavy offense. And so I think that's going to be the case regardless of who's the quarterback this season. And so, yeah, I think the wide receivers are going to get a lot more chances this year than they got last year, really the last 2 years. And it's crazy. I really thought Bryce's last year somebody would have had 1,000 yards, but it was really, that was when he had he didn't have necessarily a stellar group of wide receivers to throw to. And
that was Burton, Bond, and Burton, Bond, Isaiah.
Latu was like third on that team or something like that. So yeah, I think that whoever the quarterback is going to have the wide receivers will have more opportunities this year. I'll just put it that way.
Ja'Cory Brooks. Jai Hall was gone. Ja'Cory Brooks was there. Yeah, Brooks, Burton, Bond. Not a fun wide receiver room. It's been a minute.
Brooks disappeared 2022.
Yes,
the
because
doghouse,
21 he catches the dagger and everybody thinks that he's going to be good.
or maybe it was 23. I don't know.
He ends up having a couple blocked punts in his career. I think that's basically the catch in the end zone against Auburn and a few blocked punts for
Yeah.
Ja'Cory Brooks. He's with the Patriots, right? Didn't they end up with the Patriots?
That sounds right. Or was that Trayshawn Holden?
I don't know. Mason, the only other part of this is, will you have balance? We have offensive like I jokingly texted you, oh, the running back room, this, that. Yes, last night as we've discussed this. But is it just going to be too balanced to have multiple 1,000-yard receivers?
Is it going to be too balanced?
Well,
I mean,
to have the 1,000 yards,
no,
no such thing as too balanced.
I mean, I think given the track record of, like Katie said, what we've seen with these two coaches paired together, Kalen DeBoer, Ryan Grubb, has been a much more pass-heavy system in the past. I would imagine, just given the strength of the wide receiver room, they feel pretty confident about moving forward with a pass-heavy offense. So, I mean, I don't think it's going to be Ty Simpson out there throwing the ball 55 times a game, but I would lean more towards the pass. I don't think it's going to be too much of a reliance or a too much using the run game to have the 1,000-yard receivers. I think it will still be a pretty pass-heavy offense.
All right, so take you back again to 2023. Washington has Dylan Johnson go 1,195 yards on the ground, 16 touchdowns. Just looking at the rushing attempts, 391 collective rushing attempts on the team. Go over to the receptions, 376.
Wow.
So that doesn't say pass happy to me. But what it does say is when I do pass it, we're going down the field. Big plays. Are we going to see more Ryan Williams magic down the field against poor safeties? Katie Windham.
Yeah, I mean, I think Grubb coming in is great news for Ryan Williams. I do like. I admittedly am not like a deep studier of the history of Ryan Grubb and Kalen DeBoer, and I remember when he came, some people that did do deep dives talk about he does kind of adjust obviously to what he has, as any good coach would. So like, yeah, there are going to be some years that aren't super pass heavy, but I think that is what is going to be. That's more what they desire, and I think that's more what we're going to see this year. But then, you're always kind of at risk for the sophomore slump, which I feel like for receivers is maybe not like as much, but also he's going to be an interesting guy to watch in that, like, he's one of the stars of college football. He was on the cover of VA 25. There is so much hype on, and it kind of started last season. He had a lot of hype coming into the season, and then his first game had 2 touchdowns. Had touchdowns in the first 6 games or whatever it was. Obviously, I think he's playing against Georgia. So, like, defenses are aware of Ryan Williams. And I think that's where the other guys come in, and some of that balance comes in is, will he be as, statistically successful? Will he be more statistically successful because he's going to have an offense that's more catered to his skills? That's kind of what we'll get to see in less than, how many days are we now? Less than 90 days?
79.
Less than 80
Today
days.
is 79.
Wow.
Is there 79 on the roster to talk about? Golly, we've been doing this, but the 80s were sparse, Katie. What happened? We've lost the ancient text that the wide receivers don't like 80s anymore, Katie.
I feel like once they were allowed to wear, once you throw the 0 in there and they're allowed to wear all these lower digits, they took that and ran with it.
No 79s on the roster. Terrible. Mason, why don't you pivot here, and we'll start to head down the tracks and close.
Sure. Kind of just one more thing, I guess, before we get out of here. I do want to ask you about really just what Greg Byrne has had to say this whole week, mostly about this, the House settlement. He took to his Twitter account initially, tweeting out the message that Alabama will be fully funding the $20.5 million. He's not quite released how they're going to be splitting that up. I don't know if you saw, he talked to Ryan Fowler yesterday on the game, told him that they have decided, they have come up with a plan on how they are going to split it. They're just not releasing that information yet. Really just want to get your reaction as to kind of what he said about about everything that kind of happened this week.
Yeah, I'm guessing that's not going to be released anytime soon. Alabama's not going to be on the front edge of releasing anything. Maybe if other teams start doing it, start getting pressure too. But I mean, they'll keep that as close to the vest as long as possible because they don't want the other sports feeling slighted or comparing to other schools or whatever. I think it's an important because we talked about this at our staff meeting the other day because I was confused. He tweeted that they're going to fully fund the $20.5 million. But that does not mean that every sport that's getting a scholarship increase every scholarship is going to be fully funded because that is millions and millions more dollars on top of the revenue sharing. And so when you look at baseball that had the 11.7 scholarships for forever and now they can do up to 34, they're not going to just fund or whatever the number is for baseball. I think it's 34.
Yeah, it's 34.
All of a sudden going to fund 20 plus more scholarships. That is like millions and millions of dollars to do. And like, they're just not going to do that for sports that don't generate a profit. So, I mean, nothing he said has really surprised me so far. All we've heard I feel like we get conflicting messages from them that, oh, we're great financially. And then, oh, we really don't have as much money as y'all think. How athletics aren't that profitable. So we need your help. Oh, we're actually great. We're better than other schools. Oh, but we're not as good as we can't afford to do this much with NIL because so nothing he said has really been super shocking so far. You would expect a school like Alabama to be able to fund the full revenue sharing. And so I'm interested to see what certain teams do, how many more scholarships they add, but I don't know if that is a thing that's ever going to be publicized by some of these teams because it hasn't really been in the past. Like baseball, I feel like was a sport that always talked about scholarships and how annoying it was and blah, blah, blah. But like they never really talked about you never knew, okay, this guy's full scholarship, this guy's half scholarship, this guy's no scholarship. Like, and it's the same thing with softball. Like you assume somebody like a Montana Fouts or Justin LeBron, okay, yeah, they're probably full scholarship. But then a lot of times those sports too will try and if kids have good grades or a good ACT score, will try and use them as an academic scholarship and then not have to use one of their limited athletic scholarships that they have. So they've always kind of been hush hush about that kind of stuff. So I doubt it's going to become, more open now, but and it's tough because in some ways it seems like it's better for these sports. There's more roster spots on some, there's less on others. But then, Greg talks about some sports might have to get cut, and that's tough at the end of the day. So I think it's going to be kind of a wait and see, watch and learn for us, for the media, and for these athletic programs over the next couple of years.
You just sort of summed it up with wait and see, watch and learn. But I was going to ask you, and if you have any more elaboration on just your general reaction to the House versus NCAA settlement. We've been kind of hammering the four different aspects: the $20.5 million, the scholarships moving and increase. We've been hammering the NIL Go discussion, and there was a fourth aspect. I cannot think of it right now. But there were four different aspects of it that we were really focused on. Well, we were wondering or kind of guessing if we think this is a positive change for college athletics.
I think it is. I think it's good to have some sort of regulations about if it's a deal's over 600, it's got to go through Deloitte. But then I feel like there's still always going to be workarounds. I doubt y'all keep up very much with what's going on in college softball, but Texas Tech made the championship series with Nigel Kennedy this year. They've been historically one of the most irrelevant Power 4 softball programs. And then they've gotten two of the biggest names in the portal so far. Caitlin Terry, a girl that was a pitcher from UCLA. They already have the best pitcher in the country at Nijus. They've added another number 2 to really back her up. And they added Mia Williams from Florida, who's one of the best hitters in the country. And apparently they're not done. So it's like, which I don't know when. Did the House settlement go into effect that day that they passed it?
Is it July 1st it goes into
I think it's
effect?
July 11,
Okay.
but they had to start filing deals right then. And so the Deloitte's going to have a backloaded log to look through.
Yeah, because like these people, like these softball deals are certainly worth more than $600. So, and there's a lot of, and I don't really get into the softball rumor mill necessarily, or I'm not that deep on the softball internet where people are talking about tampering and blah, blah. But it's like, that's just one aspect of all of this that's going on. And so it's like for things that people care about even more, like football and basketball, I don't know if my dad's ended up doing this. He talked some accounting because my dad's a accountant, litigation consultant, that somebody had reached out to him about that's working on behalf of the athletes, that's going through and looking at kind of the deals of like, was this fair market? So he was going to kind of have access to all these deals. I don't know if he's in. I was like, I would be very interested to see that kind of because like a lot of these people, like some of these players are worth that much, like, but a lot of them are getting deals from certain schools that are worth way more than they are worth. Which good for you. Like, go get that bag like while you can. So I think this is a good first step. I don't, but then like you see like it's kind of been funny, Greg Burns tweets of like when he'll like, I think it was the Kansas athletic director that he quote tweeted him, was like, great job, like go get him, like, because some people are saying this is the death of college athletics. And then I think the ADs, from what I've heard from people that work in athletics, is like they've had years to prepare for this. They kind of knew it was coming. They didn't know if it would pass, but they've kind of had, like contingency plans if it did pass. And so they've had years to wrap their mind around this, to get ready for it. And so I think it's a good first step. I'm sure things will continue to change, but it's whenever NIL first started, it opened a can of worms. So it's going to be really hard to get back in the can. So, and that's kind of what we've seen so far.
She's Katie Windham. You follow her at Katie Windham _ on the Twitter machine. She's the lead writer for BamaCentral.com, Alabama Crimson Tide on SI. Guys, I did a bad thing and forgot my plug today for my computer, and we're starting to die, and I don't want to just cut this show off. I think we've had a pretty good time so far. We appreciate everybody watching us on the Bama Central YouTube channel, on the Bama Central Facebook page. You find the show on Apple Podcasts, Amazon, and Spotify. Katie, thank you so much for your time. Goodness gracious, best of luck for all your preparations. I know it's going to be a huge month and change for you, and hopefully we'll catch up with you very, very soon.
Yeah, thanks, guys. Hopefully I wasn't freezing up too much today.
Oh, I think it was my battery sending all of our faces in and out and in and out. So we're going to wrap up for the day. I appreciate Katie joining us. You can find all her work again at Katie Windham _ at BamaCentral.com. We'll be back tomorrow. We'll have a Friday edition of the show. I'm not quite sure what we're going to chat about yet, but things will always come to us, and we'll make it a fun time right here on the Joe Gaither Show on Bama Central and BamaCentral.com.
Thanks for joining us on today's edition of the Joe Gaither Show on Bama Central. Keep up with Joe on all his social media pages at Joe Gaither6. Subscribe, rate, and review the show on Spotify and Apple Podcasts, and be sure to read us daily at BamaCentral.com.